The music had barely started when the laughter began. In the middle of the glittering ballroom, beneath the golden lights and the curious eyes of strangers, a young woman stepped onto the dance floor and gently placed her hand in the hand of a quiet single father standing beside a little girl in a worn-out dress. People whispered, some smirked, others openly laughed. To them, it looked ridiculous, a graceful, beautiful woman choosing to dance with a tired man who looked like life had already taken too much from him. But what none of them knew, was that this simple dance was about to reveal a story that would leave the entire room in stunned silence. Before we continue, if you believe that kindness, second chances, and respect for every human being matter, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this story, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel, Lonely Dad Strong Heart. Your support helps more heartfelt stories reach people who need them. The ballroom of the Grand Silver Hall was filled with wealth, elegance, and quiet judgment. Crystal chandeliers sparkled like frozen stars above tables dressed in white silk. It was the annual charity gala attended by the city's most influential families, business leaders, and socialites. People arrived in designer gowns and tailored suits, greeting each other with polite smiles that often hid silent competition. Near the back of the hall, almost invisible among the glamorous crowd, stood Daniel Carter. Daniel's suit was clean but clearly old. It had been carefully pressed, but the fabric had begun to fade from years of use. His shoes were polished but worn at the edges. Beside him stood his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, holding tightly onto his hand. Her small blue dress had been mended more than once, but Daniel had washed and ironed it carefully so she could look her best tonight. Daniel had not planned to attend such an event. He was a construction worker who spent most days lifting heavy beams under the scorching sun. Fancy galas were not part of his world. But the charity foundation hosting the event had helped him once when Lily was sick, covering medical bills he could never have paid alone. When he received the invitation, he felt he owed it to them to come and say thank you. Still, standing in that room filled with wealth made him feel painfully out of place. Conversations flowed around him, glasses clinked, laughter echoed, but Daniel stayed quiet, focused only on Lily. Lily's eyes, however, sparkled with excitement. She had never seen anything like this before, the lights, the music, the beautiful dresses. Her small face glowed with curiosity as she watched people dancing in the center of the room. Then she tugged gently on her father's sleeve. She pointed toward the dance floor with wide hopeful eyes. Daniel's heart tightened. He knew what she wanted. She wanted to dance. But Daniel shook his head gently. He felt the weight of the room's judgment already pressing against him. People like him didn't belong on that dance floor. The orchestra began playing a soft melody. Couples stepped forward gracefully. Expensive perfumes filled the air. And then something unexpected happened. From across the ballroom, a young woman noticed them. Her name was Sophia Bennett. Sophia was known in the city's social circles for her elegance and kindness. She came from a wealthy family, but unlike many around her, she carried herself with quiet humility. That night she wore a simple but beautiful silver dress, her dark hair flowing softly over her shoulders. While others admired the luxury around them, Sophia had noticed something different. She saw the little girl watching the dance floor with longing. And she saw the father standing beside her, trying his best to hide the sadness in his eyes. Sophia understood that look. Without hesitation, she walked across the ballroom. People noticed immediately. Conversations paused as heads turned to watch where she was going. Sophia stopped in front of Daniel and Lily. Lily looked up in surprise. Sophia smiled warmly, her eyes filled with kindness that needed no explanation. She bent slightly and extended her hand toward Lily first, then gently toward Daniel. A silent invitation. Daniel was stunned. He looked around nervously. Many guests were watching now. Some were already whispering, but Lily's face lit up with excitement. So Daniel took a deep breath. And he accepted. They stepped onto the dance floor together. The moment they did, the laughter began. Some people covered their mouths. Others openly smirked. To them, the scene looked absurd, a graceful woman dancing with a poor construction worker and his little girl in the middle of a glamorous charity gala. But Sophia didn't care. She knelt down and gently placed Lily's small hands into Daniel's. Then she guided them both into the rhythm of the music. At first, Daniel felt awkward. His movements were stiff, unsure. He wasn't used to dancing, especially not in front of wealthy strangers. But Lily laughed softly as she spun beneath his arm. And slowly, something changed. The music softened. The laughter faded slightly. Because what people began to see was not awkwardness, it was love. A father who had worked himself to exhaustion just to give his daughter a moment of happiness. A little girl who trusted her father with her entire heart. And a woman who saw their worth when everyone else only saw their poverty. Yet even then, many in the room still believed Daniel was just a poor man who didn't belong there. What they didn't know was the truth about him. Years earlier, Daniel Carter had been a promising young engineer working for one of the city's largest development companies. His designs had helped build several major bridges and infrastructure projects. But life had changed in a single devastating year. His wife had become seriously ill shortly after Lily was born. Medical bills drained everything he had. When she passed away, Daniel found himself drowning in debt while caring for a newborn daughter. He sold his house, his car, and eventually even the company shares he once owned. When the company he helped build expanded, Daniel could have fought to reclaim his position. But instead, he chose something else. He chose Lily. He took construction jobs so he could stay close to home and raise his daughter himself. No fame, no recognition, just sacrifice. What the crowd in that ballroom didn't know was that many of the buildings they admired in the city had once been designed by the very man they were laughing at. And someone in the room finally realized it. An elderly man sitting at the front table suddenly stood up slowly. It was Mr. Robert Langford, the founder of the very development company Daniel once helped create. His voice carried across the quieting ballroom. He called Daniel's name. The room fell silent. Daniel stopped dancing and turned, confused. Mr. Langford walked toward the dance floor with deep respect in his eyes. Then, in front of everyone, he said something that shocked the entire room. He told them that years ago, Daniel Carter had been one of the most brilliant engineers his company had ever hired. Many of the projects that helped build the city had started from Daniel's designs. The laughter disappeared instantly. Whispers spread through the crowd. The same people who had mocked him moments earlier now looked at him with wide eyes. But Daniel didn't look proud. He simply looked down at Lily, who was still holding his hand. Because to him, none of that mattered anymore. His greatest achievement wasn't a building. It was raising his daughter with love despite losing everything. Sophia watched him quietly, her respect growing deeper with every moment. She understood something the others were only beginning to realize. True strength doesn't always wear expensive suits. Sometimes it looks like a tired father who refuses to give up. The orchestra continued playing, and this time, no one laughed. Instead, the entire ballroom watched in silence as Daniel lifted Lily gently and spun her once more under the golden lights. The moment felt different now. Not awkward. Beautiful. Before we reach the ending of this story, I want to ask you something special. If you believe people should never be judged by their appearance or their wealth, comment below with the words, "Kindness sees the truth." I would love to read your thoughts. As the night came to an end, several guests approached Daniel with respect they had not shown before. But Daniel remained the same humble man he had always been. Sophia knelt beside Lily one last time and hugged her gently. That single dance had changed something in the room. It reminded everyone that behind every quiet person is a story they cannot see. Sometimes the people the world laughs at are the ones with the strongest hearts. And sometimes, the simplest act of kindness, like inviting a single father to dance, can reveal a truth powerful enough to silence an entire room. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who believes in kindness, and subscribe to Lonely Dad's Strong Heart. Your support helps these stories reach more people who may need hope today. Because in a world that often judges too quickly, stories like this remind us of something important. Respect everyone. You never know the strength hidden behind their silence.